Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Rise of the Phoenix, and this video is going to be an overview of Angmar's Tier 4 unit, the Fallen. Not only do they look extremely cool in my opinion, they're quite powerful, arguably one of the most powerful units in the game, especially if you discount Mumakills because we all know they're ridiculous and they're going to get nerfed eventually. But before we go any further, if you enjoy my content, please consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I unlocked my T4s a few days ago. Unfortunately, I haven't had much of a chance to recruit that many of them because we've been at war constantly for like a week and a half now or something crazy like that. And these dudes, unfortunately, take forever to recruit and they're very expensive, which means in the middle of a war where you're fighting every single day, most days 2 times a day, it's super hard to keep them around and in stock. However, I have enjoyed using them the few times that I've gotten to put them into action, and they've done very well for me. We'll start off by taking a look at their stats and abilities. So you get 50 of these per command, which is the same as every other cavalry unit in the game, except for Rune's Tier 4 unit. I forget exactly how many they get. I probably should have double checked that, but I do know they get less than 50. As far as their damage goes, they have pretty reasonable base damage. Their base damage isn't anything magnificent, I will say. However, that does get fixed, and we'll talk about that in a minute. As for health, they have 92 hit points, which is higher than Raiders and Dragoons, which is perfect for how you want to use these guys. And if we compare that to some good Tier 3 units, they have almost as much health as Cataphracts, which clock in at 94 HP. They have more HP than Ram Riders, which have 90, and they have a decent chunk more than Cavaliers, which only have 82. As far as their defense goes, they have 55, which is not that awesome for a cavalry unit. However, there are some evil commanders you can pair them with to really pump that number up, as well as gear options you can take that you'll probably want to take in order to crank that number up. Cataphracts come in at a whopping 61 defense base, which I believe is the most heavily armored cavalry unit in the game. Actually, Rune's Tier 4 probably has more defense than Cataphracts, but these guys do have more defense than Raiders, Dragoons, Goat Riders, Ram Riders, and Cavaliers. So their defense is pretty decent, just not insane like the Cataphracts. Their speed is 134, which is quite nice. They're quite quick. They have a surprising amount of siege damage for a cavalry unit, but honestly, if you're playing the evil side, you're going to want to use Dunlendings for siege or alchemists. Angmar having relatively easy access to Dunlendings, so you're probably not going to throw these guys in a siege army unless you absolutely have to. They are considered evil men, so not orcs, not uruks. They will gain benefits from anything that affects evil men, which we'll talk about how to take advantage of that in a couple of minutes. This ability is why these guys, in my opinion, are absolutely awesome. So I should probably go ahead and take this to 10 of 10 now that I have the gold, but I might upgrade some other units first just because the difference between 9 of 10 and 10 of 10 isn't all that much. But at 10 of 10, they get a 6% damage buff every single time they receive damage up to 10 stacks. So for the mathematicians out there, you can double check me on this. That comes out to be a whopping 60% damage increase. I was thinking of Reapers in my head for a second. Reapers get 70% in round 5. I've been obsessed with Reapers recently, by the way. This is a quick side note. 60% damage buff, which is massive, huge. It actually takes their damage up to be some of the highest damage units in the game. Not the highest, but they are definitely way up there. If you can get it to 10 stacks, even if you can only get it to 5 stacks, it's still a considerable amount of damage that these guys can put out. Of course, they're on horses, they get mounted, damage received minus 10%, which is absolutely perfect for these guys. because it's all about letting them tank hits, tank that damage, and then dish it out back even more than they've taken, hopefully, as long as they're not all dying to some crazy Theoden or something. Theoden is he's running rampant on my server in Season 2 right now, so I have a little bit of hate for him currently. Let's go ahead and talk about a few use cases. The absolutely perfect commander for these guys, which very few people, I believe, will have, would be Respect 5 Kirun. This is because Marshal of the East Mark, melee units have a 50% chance of receiving less damage. Those guys are melee units. This makes them more tanky, as well as some focus if you take 15 of 15. But more importantly, he has Tribal Tactics, which at 7 of 7 gives these guys a 25% chance every single round to attack twice. We already said they're going to do tons and tons of damage, especially if they're tanking hits. And getting to attack twice it just doubles your damage, right? I mean, it doesn't like double your damage over the course of 10 fights, but in that particular round, it's a 100% damage buff, doubles your damage. And because these guys are so quick, they're likely to go first in rounds of combat, which means in some rounds you're just going to get to smack the enemy twice before they get to hit you back. Additionally, Kirun has healing. Sand Soldier, every time Kirun himself does damage, he heals. So if you're going to be using these guys with Kirun, I would highly suggest you take a weapon that has a chance on hit to deal extra damage, because you can potentially get 2 of these procs every single time that weapon proc goes off. So 50% of the time that Kirun attacks, you're going to get 2 heals instead of 1, as I believe all of those weapon procs are a 50% chance for bonus damage. It doesn't matter what type of damage it is. It can be the poison damage, the burn damage, the physical damage, whatever it is, as long as it's dealing extra damage, extra healing is coming your way. He also has Frontline Rescue, which is a big heal on round 3. And then we'll go down to Easterling. This actually reduces enemy attack, so that's nice. Just more damage mitigation here from Iron Guard, and even more damage mitigation from Evil Alliance. So Kirun does an excellent job of mitigating damage, letting these guys tank hits, and then letting the Fallen put in the work for you. A budget version would be Khaldun, who's actually quite a good tier 1 commander. Like Kirun, he has Tribal Tactics, which is going to let these guys attack twice. He can stun people, and he has the same Easterling, Evil Alliance, and Iron Guard synergy. He doesn't have the healing that Kirun has, which is what really makes Kirun quite a lot better with Fallen, but this guy is still quite a strong R5 commander, especially just for a tier 1 guy. We have a couple of honorable mentions, the first being one of my personal favorite commanders, and that is Khamûl, specifically at Respect 5. That's because the Black Easterling is incredibly powerful in my opinion. It has a 1-round cooldown, hits 2 enemy targets, reduces their defense and their speed. Actually, let me pull up my... This will be better, right? Let me pull up my Khamûl. That way you can actually see the full bonus here. So when you max it out, 30% speed, raw 30 speed reduction, 30 defense reduction, and it buffs your units. It's really nice if you can run Fallen in armies of 2 units, so Fallen plus something else, because you want Fallen to be able to take extra hits so that that damage buff stacks up. This is perfect for that because it hits exactly 2 allied units, which means every single time Khamûl uses the Black Easterling, your guys are getting more speed and more defense, which helps them tank hits. He also has this nice ability here, the Black Rider, which lets the Fallen stack up even more damage every single time they attack, up to 3 stacks of extra damage there. He has Hamstring, just to slow down and reduce enemy defense again. A minute ago I said that Black Easterling was percent-based. It's not. Hamstring actually is percent-based though, so very strong synergy between those two. And then second in command lets your Fallen deal more damage. You gain 30 total focus if you take this to 15 of 15. And he increases their defense even more. So ultimately, he will end up giving these guys a ton of extra defense between the discipline bonus and the black Easterling bonus, which is going to be up 50% of the time. That's a total of plus 65 defense, which is extremely significant considering they only start at 55 defense. And our last honorable mention goes to good old Gothmog, one of the strongest tier 2 commanders in the game. Like Kamul, he gives second in command. He has discipline for extra defense. He also brings along with him healing. He also has a chance to let your fallen deal maximum damage, which is a huge damage buff. He provides a little bit of anti-healing, and if you put even just 1 point into Overlord, there's a chance that he will smack one of your own dudes, preferably the fallen, for a minor amount of damage, and then it's going to increase how much damage they do on their next attack. So Overlord allows fallen to stack up that damage bonus even more quickly than they normally would in a normal fight, because he's going to be poking them a little bit, and then they're going to be smacking people back. As I mentioned a minute ago, you want to try and run these guys in armies of 2 units rather than 3. This is another example with Gothmog where you'll ensure that resupply is healing your fallen every single round rather than targeting another unit. Healing them up lets them deal more damage because some of the soldiers come back, and it just lets them last longer and stack up that damage bonus even more. I feel like I've said stack up that damage bonus like 10 times this video. Anyway, so yeah, in general, 2 units, one unit of fallen, and then whatever other unit you want to pair with them based on what you need. Kind of is going to depend on the commander. So if you're using like Kirun or Khaldun and you want to stack up those evil men army buffs, you'll probably want to bring along some dragoons. Or if you're facing a lot of cavalry, maybe throw in some halberdiers, although halberdiers are not that good in my experience. So I'd probably just bring dragoons along. That way you have 2 cavalry units, your army moves super fast, and it'll be pretty powerful. But sometimes it can be super hard to keep 2 units like that in stock, especially if it's 2 cavalry units, if you're fighting constantly and those units are taking forever to recruit. Just bring along whatever you can. If you have to bring along 3 units to fill out a full army, that's fine too. Just the general rule of thumb, in my opinion, is to run them in 2-unit armies. All right, guys, that's it for this video. I hope you learned something useful. Let me know what your opinions are on Angmar's Tier 4 unit, the Fallen, down in the comment section below. Are they one of the best Tier 4 units in the game, or do you think they are overrated? I'll see you in the next one. Rise of the Phoenix, over and out.